Jazzcast Pros.
Have you or someone you know been handed a prescription for Trazodone because you cannot sleep? Maybe you've been taking it for months or even years, and yet you've never had a sleep study, you've never been referred to a specialist, you've never been offered anything beyond that little pill at night. If this sounds familiar, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Doze Podcast. I'm your host, Soda Kuczkowski. I'm a sleep health educator and a certified sleep coach with over 2 decades of experience in sleep medicine, health, and coaching. I'm also the founder of Start With Sleep, a sleep health education platform, and The Doze, a curated line of sleep-enhancing products. My mission is to change the narrative around sleep, helping both individuals and organizations stop treating it as optional and start recognizing it as the foundation for personal and professional success. Today, I want to talk about a question that I'm often asked, and that's why has my doctor kept me on Trazodone for years to help me with my sleep, but I still feel tired all the time? You know, for years, I collaborated with a sleep lab, and I worked alongside sleep doctors to get people off of Trazodone, to get them properly diagnosed and to placed on therapies that actually improve their lives. I've seen firsthand how many individuals rely on it for the long term with little to no relief. You know, they still feel exhausted, they're still frustrated, and they're still searching for something better. So today I want to break down what Trazodone really is, why it's prescribed so often, and what the American Academy of Sleep Medicine says about it. But most importantly, what better options exist to restore your sleep instead of masking the problem? Here's the truth about it. Trazodone is not a sleeping pill. It was developed as an antidepressant. So Trazodone is an antidepressant, period. You know, the sedation it causes at night is a side effect, not the drug's primary purpose. So when doctors prescribe it for your sleep, they're prescribing it off-label, meaning that the FDA never approved it as a treatment for insomnia. You know, it's been used for something outside of its original design. And that's important to understand because when you're prescribed Trazodone for sleep, you're essentially being treated with a workaround. So why is it so popular with so many people finding themselves with it on their nightstand? Why has it become this go-to pill for so many who struggle with sleep? So there are a few reasons. First, it's cheap and easy to access. And unlike Ambien or Xanax, it's not addictive, so doctors feel safer giving it out long-term. It can also tackle 2 things at once. So if you have mood issues plus sleep complaints, it tackles both. And honestly, because it's fast and easy. You know, writing a prescription takes less time than actually digging into the real causes of your insomnia. But easy doesn't mean effective, which brings me to what the experts in sleep medicine, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, actually say about using Trazodone for insomnia. You know, when they reviewed the evidence, their guidelines clearly state, we suggest that clinicians not use Trazodone as a treatment for sleep onset or sleep maintenance insomnia in adults. And that's straight from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine in 2017. And why is that? Because the evidence that Trazodone works for insomnia is weak. In contrast, the research strongly supports cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBT-I. It's the gold standard, and it's more effective long-term, and it actually teaches your brain and body how to sleep better without relying on pills. So let me be clear. The leading professional organization for sleep medicine does not recommend Trazodone as a first-line treatment for chronic insomnia. If your sleep plan begins and ends with Trazodone, you're not receiving evidence-based care. You're being managed with a shortcut. And here's where it gets risky, because treating the symptom with a pill often means that the real problem never gets uncovered. You know, without a proper sleep evaluation, you could be masking conditions like sleep apnea, restless legs, or circadian rhythm disorders. You know, at the same time, long-term Trazodone use carries the risk of grogginess, dizziness, low blood pressure, and a higher risk of fall in older adults. And while it's not addictive, your body can get used to it, meaning what once worked eventually stops working. So you end up stuck, still feeling tired, still searching, and still without real answers. So who should be helping you manage your sleep? That's what I want to talk about. Because here's a reality. Most general providers, whether it's your primary care doctor, your OBGYN, or psychiatrist, have little to no formal training in sleep medicine. And that's not meant as a dig. It's just a truth. Sleep is barely touched in most medical sleep programs. And I did do an episode called Your Doctor Doesn't Sleep Well Either. So I'll drop the link in the show notes. But sleep specialists, that's their lane. They're trained to look at the full picture, to order the right test, and to create a real treatment plan. You wouldn't let your general doctor manage your heart disease without a visit to the cardiologist, right? So why would you let someone with minimal sleep training manage your insomnia indefinitely? If your sleep is an issue, you deserve to meet with a sleep specialist. They can help you assess what works better than Trazodone that just sedates you, and they can help you determine what you could use instead that actually supports your body's natural sleep system. Now, I want to say I do have my own thoughts on this, but before I share them, I want to be very clear. You should always consult with your healthcare provider before removing or changing medication or before adding supplements. Interactions may exist depending on your medical history and what else you might be taking. But with that said, there are options that can help your body return to its own rhythm rather than relying on the side effects of a prescription pill. And two of the best supportive alternatives are GABA and Glycine. Now, GABA is your brain's main calming neurotransmitter. It's the brake pedal for an overactive mind. Low GABA activity has been linked to insomnia and anxiety, and supplementing with it can help reduce those racing thoughts, calm the nervous system, and make it easier for you to drift off. Not by knocking you out, but by giving your brain the signal it needs to slow down. And glycine works differently. This amino acid helps lower your core body temperature at night, one of the key triggers your body relies on to fall asleep. Research shows that just 3 grams of glycine before bed can help improve sleep quality and reduce your daytime fatigue. And it's not sedating. It helps you move into deeper, more restorative sleep naturally. The difference here is huge. Trazodone is a side effect pill, and GABA and Glycine are tools that actually work with your body's sleep biology. But I want to state with that supplements alone are not the whole answer. Sleep problems deserve sleep experts. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. If Trazodone is all you've been offered, I want you to ask for more. Request a referral to a sleep specialist. If your symptoms include things like snoring, if you're waking up gasping or in a constant state of fatigue, I want you to push for a sleep study. Remember that CBT-I is the gold standard for insomnia. And if you're looking for over-the-counter support, you might want to consider supplements like GABA or Glycine, which help your body do what it's designed to do. Sleep without the side effects of a prescription drug never meant for this use. So what I need you to remember is that Trazodone may knock you out, but it doesn't fix your sleep. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine does not back it as a first-line treatment, and neither should you. If your only treatment plan is a prescription refill, you deserve better. Seek a sleep specialist, explore evidence-based care, and consider natural supports like GABA and Glycine that align with how your body actually sleeps, because it's too important to leave it on autopilot. Let's keep challenging the easy answers and get to the real solutions, because your sleep is too important to be managed with a shortcut. And do me a favor, if this episode struck a chord, share it with someone who's been stuck on Trazodone without answers, because your sleep is not a side effect, it's your foundation. Don't settle for less, demand better. And make sure to subscribe to the Doze Podcast, as next week's episode is one we recorded live at the Align Entrepreneur Pod-a-Thon. It was an amazing event with some amazing people, and I can't wait to share it with you. Until then, sleep well.